Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight, gather around the campfire as we dive into Nick Antakaska's story, The Quiet Boy. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan.
Ooh-wee.
This was a story.
Yeah, we read a story this time. It's
Yeah.
not a film, y'all.
I know,
Yeah.
we've been promising that we
Well-
do media and it's just film.
Film. But, you know, we decided to get back to the original, concept of this podcast, which is exploring horror in media. Very general term here.
Which includes literature.
Yeah, it does include literature. A little bit about Nicholas J. Antakaska. He worked on that the show Hannibal. He co-produced like 13 episodes for it. He's done a whole bunch of writing for like sci-fi and things like that. So he was responsible for a anthology called Channel Zero, which aired from about 2016 to 2018.
Doesn't Hannibal include a monster that's similar to the one in this story?
I think Hannibal is just Hannibal Lecter's story.
No, like
There
when
is an episode.
when he's having his visions.
Oh, there's an episode?
Yeah.
See, I have not actually
okay.
watched
you
the
haven't
show.
watched Hannibal?
I know, right?
Okay.
I know. Curse me.
Yes,
Yeah.
Curse me
you.
for wanting to watch,
But
not
really
watching it.
intense
The
visuals.
creature in Hannibal is like a personification of Hannibal's, I
Like
guess,
bloodlust kind
spirit.
of.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Hunger.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Hunger
it's
is
an
a better term.
actual cryptid
Yeah.
in American folklore.
That one's wild looking too. It's all black, like the whole face is black, and then
yeah.
it has the giant antlers.
Yeah, it's kind of close to how people describe seeing these beings. We're going to say the name very quietly,
Just once.
just once.
And then we're going to retcon the name for the rest of this episode because it grants power to it.
Yeah, saying the name grants power to the being, and we don't want to have any of those crawling around here. So this story is about a Wendigo. Did you hear that? Sucks if you didn't. But we're going to refer to it as the Winnie Bagel.
The Winnie Bagel.
Bunch of different nicknames.
The Windy Bagel.
The
The Winnie
Winnebago.
Bagel.
The Wendy's Bagel.
Wendy's Bagel. Wendy's Burger.
Yeah.
Wendy's burger. I
Yeah.
love that. I'll just say Wendy's.
So the Quiet Boy,
Sorry, I
like,
got attacked by a bug. That was a little scary because we got into it. See, this is why I get spooked about these kind of things. I was like, oh God, it's already going to get
It's
me.
so hilarious to me that you're into horror. You have a horror podcast, but you're the chumpiest person I know.
I am. I get scared so easily. Man, listening to this earlier, I was like sitting here, I was listening in my chair. I was like, all right, it's not so bad. I had to use the restroom. So I'm sitting in the restroom on the toilet, terrified while I'm listening to it. And I'm like looking out, and I thought I saw something in the window across the way. So I'm just freaking out. Come back out to the living room. I'm laying on the couch, and I put the blanket over me, and I'm just sitting there with the phone like, oh man. I get so scared. Like, these are some of the worst things because it's an auditory thing. So you don't have anything to accompany it. So you're kind of wherever you're at, if you have both headphones in, you have like something that's surrounding you.
right.
So it's a little creepy to listen to it. And this particular folklore kind of creeps me out because it's like, it has its origins in like the First Nations people of the Americas. So like this is a very old cryptid
Yeah.
that you've been talking about for some time. And there's been a lot of sightings.
Yeah, so the story of the Windy Bagel, as he mentioned, originated from First Nations people, specifically in the Appalachian region.
Yeah, like Canada, like top part of the United States.
Yeah, eastern, kind of very mountainous, woodsy areas. And if you ask anybody that's local and lives around that area, they'll probably tell you a few things about the woods and the creatures that crawl around in them.
Also slightly associated with the cryptids of people being like skinwalkers. It's
Yeah.
like kind of the similar, like where it'll take over someone or it like gets created because of some feeling or unfinished business.
Prior to the podcast, me and Justine were talking about the design of the Winnebago.
The
Winnebago.
And essentially, like what the natives would say is it basically looks like a skeleton with skin draped over it.
Oh man, that's
And-
such a
Yeah, people have described them as having like a black, almost like oil slick like skin.
really long limbs.
Long limbs,
tall.
sunken in faces because they're basically skeletons,
Yeah.
walking
And
skeletons.
We've noticed that more modern interpretations use the stag
Yeah,
kinda in place
was not
of it
part
now.
of the original
And-
descriptions. The antlers were never really a part of it. It became something new, I think, because they were so ornate that it
Yeah.
made sense to put it on there.
And I don't know if this was a part of the original, but they found that if it eats more people, it grows bigger in size. Is
Yeah.
that a thing of
Yeah.
the original as well?
It changes in size,
Okay.
so it won't grow bigger. So like if it eats a child, it'll grow to that size, but then it
Yes.
becomes hungrier because it's so small.
Right.
And so,
So
it keeps changing. It's like an insatiable hunger.
So
kind
if
of
it
thing.
ate a big person, it would probably grow
It would get
that
bigger.
much
Yeah.
more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a shape-shifting kind of thing.
We've noticed in more popular media just the change in the design of it.
Right.
And, I mean, both of them are still fucking
For
terrifying.
this story, though, I felt like whatever it was feeding on, whatever they were feeding on, it wasn't necessarily like the flesh and blood. Like they almost were terrifying people to feed off that fear because they were straight up just wringing out people and animals. Like they weren't eating them.
It's kind of like a combination of like the monster and It.
Yeah, where it feeds off that
and
fear.
a Winnebago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a common, I don't want to say trope, but trait of a lot of these cryptid beings, especially like the really dark ones that wish you harm, is typically, you know, even if they do decide to tear you limb from limb,
More for their
what they're really
enjoyment.
feeding on is the energy that it creates. They are not creatures that want to generate positive energy. They feed off of negativity, especially fear. Fear is one of the most powerful negative feelings you can have.
One of the most interesting things, because you could look up videos about the origin of it, was like the story of how it's supposed to represent people having too much greed or too much hunger, basically living in excess. Because anything or too much of anything is harmful to people.
Right.
So as a way to combat that, they would tell the story of the Winnebago. So they would basically tell like the younger people in the tribe, hey,
well, there's
check
also
yourself.
like a psychosis that they think exists
Yeah.
because of people doing cannibalism or
I was
or
just about to say.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how many people they have like on record of just straight up eating like their whole family.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
There's also lore about there being some form of ritual or situation that generates these people. And a lot of people don't really know exactly what this ritual is supposed to be. I guess it's a secret amongst the indigenous people that lived in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real famous one is the story of like the 7 brothers and the wife and the man, and like the warrior that comes out and like tries to figure out what is wrong with this village, and then basically finds out and narrows it down to this entire family,
Right.
and tries to take them out one by one, and because they were cannibalizing other people, and like that's just fucked.
So some
this
fun
one
facts about
creeps me out.
Winnie bagels. They've said to not really have vocal cords, but they're still able to imitate human sounds. Of course, because they don't have human vocal cords, the voice is a little distorted, but a lot of people have reported walking in the woods and hearing somebody calling their name or hearing the voice of a loved one calling for them. I was listening to this one story of this girl walking her dog when she encountered one, and she said that it imitated her sister's voice and was calling her name.
You were also mentioning that the area in the Appalachians, they basically tell all their youth about basically taking a precaution to not listen to the sounds in the woods, or if someone calls out for help.
Yeah, basically how it goes is when you give these creatures your attention, they'll latch on to that attention. And so they say, one, just don't go into the woods at night, like period.
Or alone.
Or alone. Keep in mind, though, these things can walk around any time of the day. If you see something strange, don't pay it any mind. You didn't see anything, actually. If you hear something, you didn't. If you hear somebody calling your name or calling for help, no, you didn't.
Oh, man.
You turn around and you go back to where you came from.
Yeah.
And this is something that a lot of people in the area know. And the people that don't abide by that usually end up finding out the hard way, or they just go missing.
And it leads to a lot of big creative outlets for a lot of people. Because, one, you have like this folklore, but also, two, you could play around with that idea because it's not really it's not popular in Northern America or like Europe, say. So you have like a director like Guillermo del Toro taking The Quiet Boy, and like actually going to be making a movie about it. I think it's going to, one, like get people more aware, and two, most likely give it more power now.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Bringing more attention.
In the case of a lot of spiritual entities, the more thought you give to it, the more power it has.
How many Google searches do you think are going to spike up after the movie drops?
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
a
I
lot.
mean, just think about how many Google searches popped up after Hannibal, the series dropped. And then shortly a few years later, tons of people are coming out telling the stories of things they've encountered similar to this.
Ooh.
I mean, the fear of, or like even the concept of the Wendigo, this goes back.
The
what?
Winnebago.
Oh no! What have I done? All right. Well, if I wind up
The
dead,
mic just cuts off.
I was killed by a very angry Winnebago. It's too late.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be making fun of this. I take that back. I apologize.
Yeah, we won't. It's not. But I think this goes back to like very primal fears that people have had for centuries upon centuries, especially when we go back to like our hunter-gatherer origins as humans, like just going out into the woods at night, bad idea all the time, because that's when predators are out. That's when things that kill you are roaming around. And so people, these like legends and whatnot rise up from that as like explanations for these things. So, like, the darkness has always been sort of a thing that's, been around humanity or is something to be feared and whatnot.
And in this case, like, our main, I wouldn't call him a victim, but, like, the person who's in the center of this is a small child whose family has succumbed to the bagel.
So what a great story and way to, like, condense a large piece of folklore into a single story and to make it believable. Yeah. Like, I fully believed everything that they were telling me. I'm like, none of this seemed outrageous that they were doing this or that, because he could totally hang out and live in the backyard, like in the little
just
tent.
Kept feeding it.
Absolutely.
And it's so fucked up that he was feeding them like pets so that they would stay in the house. And then she's like, wait, why didn't you warn me?
I mean, the motivation for the teacher to go see him is so believable.
It's legit.
She's legit. She's a teacher, and she's like, I want to help this kid. Yeah.
And she even makes a point to mention in the beginning, like, kind of what a rundown town it is.
Yeah.
What they say, basically, it's hills, liquor stores, and sex workers.
Yep.
Oh, my God. That was kind of cheesy. But that was, I get it.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part is when they tell the kids to make story time and write out a story. And it basically just mirrors out his situation at home with the three wolves. A timid wolf, a medium-sized wolf, and then the large one.
That was interesting, too, to kind of personify them as being wolves. Because in a lot of cases, when people spot these sort of creatures, they don't really know what to think about it, so they think it's just some weird, deformed animal that they're looking at. Yeah. And so, in a sense, this kid probably had no idea what these creatures were in the first place, but he still had to figure it out and live with them and try to keep them contained for as long as he could until nosy teacher goes around.
He was actually keeping them in there for however many years or at least like it was a year, I think. He said
for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, and he was just keeping them there, and then they didn't realize that they let them out by moving those bodies, which is interesting because it added a new piece of like sort of lore to it, where it's like, oh, they kind of have to maintain a distance around something important. In this case, it was their original bodies.
And the skeletons.
The bones. Like, these are the kinds of important things, because they've been noted to have stuff on them, like the bones actually carried around their neck or things like that. So it could be their own, could be other people's.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting to me because I felt more of a, like, spirit kind of thing rather than an actual physical entity.
Right, until they showed up in physical form towards the end of the story.
Descriptions are disturbing.
She describes, because she enters the house unknowingly and she feels like the papa wolf is what she describes.
Is like right behind her.
Right behind her and breathing down her neck.
That was such a good description of just like, it's like right behind you, the breath is on your neck, his chin is like almost touching your collarbone, and you get this idea of just how big it is, that it's like haunched over her, like trying to basically intimidate her and push her into the room.
And she turns around and nothing is there.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of reason, like, it kind of feels more like a spirit entity that's trapped in the house. And this kid, because he's feeding it, is able to contain it.
Yeah, because at that point they're not really out. They're still maintained within that house.
Yeah,
that's
they're not getting hungry, so they don't need to go out.
Yeah, that's true. Ooh. And then when they were out, that's when people started getting murdered.
The teacher in this story is a very believable character.
I felt like
I felt bad for her.
She finds the intelligence in this small kid, and she sees in the personification of the wolves that, maybe the dad's an alcoholic and beats his kids.
Ooh.
I should probably call CPS, but I want to check it out. And even that weird exchange with the neighbor that was like minimal.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there?
Yeah,
do you know these guys? Don't go over there. Just like, woo, very quick. But he knows there's something fucky going on over there.
Yeah, I just feel bad with how she ended up in the story, considering she came in with such pure intentions. Like, these are the kind of teachers I wish we had more of that actually give a shit about their students. Part of like a program
that placed her there.
Yeah, into, I would say, a low-income sort of neighborhood, and wanted to help this kid out and see him have a good life.
Also, if she had not taken the kid that night, she would have survived.
Yeah, that's also true.
Because it was after him, because it's like he wanted his son back.
The entire scene with the cops, how she's talking to the guy over the phone.
Oh, yeah.
When he's like, I got to call you back. And she's like, "What's wrong?" Some people are dead. But the way that he said it, it sounds like they had just died. They describe that in the book, and it's very chilling.
He didn't know how to describe it because he probably saw the wrunged out bodies that he was just like, who does this? What can do this? What's big enough to do this?
I mean, when oh my gosh, when the author goes into describing how it kills people and how it sounds like twisting bubble wrap.
Yeah.
No, that's just nah.
Because you know what the loud popping noise sounds like, so it's like to use that to describe a body getting basically torn up like that is fucked up.
The thing is, this is a literature story, but they also have many audiobook or people reading it through podcasts and stuff. So hearing it is a different thing entirely, especially if it has a sound.
Yeah, they'll do voice acting for it too.
It's very strong.
Personally, I listened to Ben Womberg read it.
I did too.
I think I did as well.
He's on YouTube, but he does a very good reading of it. With a couple little nitpicks there for editing issues, but other than that, his voice was great, and I think he really carried that chilling feel the whole time. It was very good at reading a scary story for sure.
The entire climax comes to a crashing halt because she thinks everything is fine. She orders pizza for the kid. She puts on a movie for him. She thinks
Despicable Me.
Yeah, Despicable Me.
That's funny.
The thing that haunts me the most is when the kid gets in the car with her for the first time and he keeps checking, looking back, keeps scanning the woods.
Oh god,
he knows that it's out there and it's coming.
It didn't even take that long to get over to where they're at.
No, it didn't.
They got there pretty quick.
They even had time to shred through the neighbor first.
Yeah, right. They went to go kill people
I
nearby.
was so sad that the neighbor died. The pot smoking old lady in the big house.
Oh, with the Vandals t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just Linda, dude.
That's just Linda. Honestly.
Oh my god, that's super funny.
Oh my gosh.
Shit.
Well, that was part of it too. She said that they were sort of distracted with her neighbor before they got over, which gave her time to get her noises, and I was like, I'm terrified.
Sorry, that was just my chair squeaking.
Yeah, it was just the chair. She brought over bowls to light up because apparently they have this power that gets rid of any light, which includes their electricity. Mm-hmm. Even on a flashlight, that thing started to flicker. So the only natural light you could create was just lighting something on fire.
You know what that makes me think about? Death Eaters.
Yes.
From
they would
Harry
pull the
Potter.
lights out of things.
Wait, no, not Death Eaters. Is it the Death Eaters? No, that's the fucking wizard dude.
Oh,
the Dementors.
Yeah. That's who it is. Anytime Dementors show up, they extinguish all the lights and then they feed off of your energy by causing fear, essentially, and they're feeding off of your fear. So Dementors are like flying Winnie bagels.
Oh, jeez.
I thought it was very clever that because the power is going out, that she went to the extent to make a ring of fire around her and the child to protect themselves.
She did also have a moment where she almost threw this kid and was like, fuck it, I'm gonna survive.
That's the craziest part is that I really like the story, how it goes into her dilemmas with survival versus helping this kid, and she picks the kid every time.
She was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And then they don't even say that she died. They say that when they walked in, she was just all over the kitchen. You're like, she got shredded. Just got parts all over.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Also, they described the pizza owner finding his delivery driver just completely in shreds.
He didn't even go inside. He left and was like, oh my God. And that's how the cops came. And then the sheriff was the one who came in and was like, oh, what the fuck? And then the kid's missing. So you have to assume he got taken away and now they're just roaming around killing people. So it's that's not the end of that story.
Sorry, a car passed by really loud on the street and it didn't sound like a car, and I was like, dog, that's what you get for saying the name.
That was a moped.
Yeah, moped.
It's okay. No, we're not all on a little bit of edge here.
Well, that's the thing when you hear the story with most horror fiction, if it's written good, you will be on edge.
It's all about those descriptors, getting descriptions that bother people, the description of the face for the creatures. The dad is just all fucked up. The mouth is weird. The eyes are like goats where they have the rectangular pupils on it. You know, and then
Have a
the little
weird
kid is
smile.
like, the little kid is constantly like trying to fuck with its mouth because it's just so hungry, where it looks like
sucking on its fingers
Yeah.
constantly and whatnot. While it's hopping around dancing
Like a
it's
frog.
None of this
Yeah.
is okay.
They also get into the basement and they just found mounds upon mounds of dead animals.
Yeah, they're just all. He even says it. He's like, they look like somebody just wrung them out, and you're like, what?
like a towel.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
When your hair sticks up on your arm, that's when you know it's good.
Right.
It creeps me out.
It just makes me think, though. I feel like wringing them out like a towel is one way to probably generate the most fear. Because I know,
For real.
I don't know personally. Like, I've never seen or heard of anyone getting killed in this manner, but I imagine it's not a particularly quick death.
No.
Considering your organs are being crushed, but they might still function. So, like, you're still fully conscious while you're being twisted.
Oh, how does it feel to have a rib in your lung?
Oh.
Oh, God. How does it feel to have your lung in your pancreas?
It's just,
Like I'll move it all around.
It's all.
Yeah, Big Pharma's just like, I got a pill for that.
Oh my god.
$12,000 a pop.
I'm really excited to see where Guillermo del Toro's film will go in.
I am almost positive it'll be a good movie.
He's gonna eat
Oh,
that
yeah.
shit up.
And
He's
really
gonna leave
cannot
no
wait.
crumbs.
He takes his time when he's working on projects to the point where like he really puts a lot of care into it. So I think it'll be something that's worth
Yeah.
the time.
This story came out in 2019.
Yeah.
That's when it was published. So I mean, I think it's pretty cool that it's something so modern.
Yeah.
As well, and like even like the Despicable Me things and like use of cell phones.
Yeah,
So all of
places
this
the
is very
time.
relevant to our time, and that's not something you always see in horror media
Right.
and whatnot.
You know what's funny though is that they released something on Netflix that is totally unrelated and not a horror story, but it was still like a little kid that's born like half deer or whatever the fuck and has antlers and shit, and I thought it was the same thing,
Oh,
but I was like, wait, no,
I've
this
heard
is
of
not the
that.
same thing. This is like a
Yeah.
really nice, like loving story about
Wholesome.
someone taking care. Yeah, it's like they're taking care of this kid that's born weird, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh wait, this isn't the same.
that's it. Okay.
I'm like,
well.
that's not what I was looking for.
You're like, but great job, bro.
Yeah, it's like number 3 on Netflix right now. So there's-
One thing we'll know for sure is Creature Design is going to have a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
it's gonna be so fucked up. Like if it's anything like the creatures you've seen so far in his films, he's gonna get the design exactly right, and it's gonna be disturbing.
He's gonna do his research.
There are 2 trailers. The movie in question is called Antlers. No release date yet, but there's one trailer. There are no words in this except for
Creepy.
the Wendy bagel. And then the second trailer where they have talking, but I believe that first trailer hits you more.
I hope they fully commit and get that rated R rating,
Yes.
and don't go with the PG-13 version of this.
We need gore, dude.
There's gotta be some really fucked up violence, I think, for it to really get the point across of how dangerous they are, and then you can show some really grotesque stuff on their face and what they're doing.
You know, I was just thinking about as I was listening to this story, because we were talking about why you don't say the name. The author never mentions the name of this creature.
True.
This is an unnamed
We're
creature.
assuming we kind of know which one it is.
But it leads me to believe that the author has done his research. He's like, nope, I'm not saying that name.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a moment where someone explains the folklore. We just know
No.
it's a creature,
Yeah.
and that the dad and son got turned into something.
We do know that in the trailer there is a shaman, and he
Ooh.
goes, I thought that was just myth. Someone says that, and he goes, well, it's not myth now.
Oh, jeez. Oh, right, yeah, because you've been putting a lot of attention towards that.
Yeah.
That's gnarly. What the hell? So I think, yeah, from the previews that I've seen, it looks like it'll be really interesting.
I mean, not mentioning the name of it too is definitely playing more with your fears as well, because
Yes.
now you have no idea what it is, and if you had the preconception of what a Wendy bagel is, a Wendy's bagel is, then you might not be as afraid of it, because you'll be like, oh, this is something I understand. But when it's something you cannot comprehend or cannot, like, I have no idea what this thing's weakness is, where it's hiding, how it operates, I don't,
Yeah.
and it's much more terrifying.
And it's even creepier because if you know, you know. As so you're reading this like, oh shit, I've seen this before. I know exactly what this thing
Yeah.
is. And then in your head, you're thinking like, no, you don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stop.
No. As soon as that teacher gets up to the house, you're just like, this is already bad. Like, why
Yeah.
are you?
It doesn't.
You know-
It doesn't matter what pizza we order, kid. We're dead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what.
You know, pro tip, if you see a boarded up house that's boarded up from the outside, You probably shouldn't open the door. just a thought.
Oh man, she like really just pulls the lock off that thing.
She wants to help. That's all she wants to do. It's so tragic.
It really wasn't.
Moral of the story here: don't be a hero,
don't
because you're gonna die.
Oh my god, I love all the movies that do that, where they're like, "Don't be a hero, kid."
And he's like, "I'm gonna be a hero." Then he gets killed.
He's killed. The old man's like, "No."
The heroes never last long. They always die in their 30s or earlier.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyways, just look at Jesus. Okay.
So,
anyways.
Oh my god.
This story is relatively short. You could read it in about an hour.
Yeah.
And also the reading itself is an hour, so you guys should check it out.
It's a good short story.
Yeah. Absolutely worth listening to or reading. I think the prose is very good in this one too. I think it really I don't know, it's just very, very well descripted, and it gets to its points. It doesn't waste a lot of time. It hits all the story points
I was really
very
glad
well.
there was no like time talking about her life. Like where she's like, yes, here's the kind of life she had before she got here.
She shows you the type of
there's
the
a
author
few
shows
bits
you
here and there that you get an idea of who she is and why she's there. All you really needed to know was that she's there and she's helping people because she's part of this program and she cares a lot about this kid, and that's enough to make the story go forward, because you're like, yeah, that makes sense. You care about, this kid who might be having some problems at home. And teachers do this all the time. They'll get them like stuff they need, the art supplies, stuff like that. Go check on them at their home. So it's a good way. It's a good way to progress the story without it being like outlandish. Like, why would she even go over there? It's like, well, it makes sense because she saw something going on with his drawings. He seems a little weird. He doesn't have the same outfit. Someone saw him at the laundromat.
He literally wears the same outfit every day.
So it's like, people have seen him walk around and washing his own sheets at the laundromat.
I was just thinking too, if he hasn't really like gone into the house, that might explain why he only has one change of clothes.
Yeah,
because probably when it happened, he fucking dipped and never went back into that house unless he was dropping off food.
Yeah, into the basement.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Which I was wondering too, if it was boarded up from the outside, how did he get inside to the basement?
Some basements do have those doors you open up from the outside to get into.
Yeah.
He's probably just
he's just like, all right, puppy.
Tosses it
all right,
in there.
Fido, get in there.
What an even darker part of the story that you don't see is that he's picking up dogs and cats and just throwing them in there.
Yo, I bet it started with his own pets.
That's something that's amazing about this, is because without that, we're already imagining what this child was doing.
Yeah.
So it's implanting like cinema in your head that's not even in the text.
Well, she even mentions that he smells like pets.
Yeah.
So
no, that's something I really loved about short stories, is that they leave a lot of room for the imagination. I love like a good long novel. Don't get me wrong, but with these short stories, when you leave out certain details, you make up those details in your head, and it could be a lot more terrifying to think about these things.
Do you guys have any favorite parts or a favorite section of the reading?
For me, it was like literally when they get to her house, because the tension is just it's way up for when you're like, oh my God, they're gonna kill her, they're gonna break into the house, the light's dying, like what are you gonna do? It's so much at once. It's
like once the pizza boy arrives, that's what really got me, is because the author did this really good thing where you totally forget they even ordered a pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
You totally forget because everything else that's going on is so much more important.
I thought it was the sheriff or something, but I was like, yeah, they're gonna get saved. I was like, oh,
I know, I thought that too. I was like, somehow the sheriff knew to come here and he's gonna save. Nope.
No, absolutely not.
I actually think that was probably my favorite point of the story, was when the pizza guy showed up. Because, I don't know, in a way, it's almost comedic that a pizza guy, of all people, is going to come in and save the day just for a moment until he gets twisted and pop like bubble wrap.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
My favorite part was when she's talking to the cop over the phone, and he's like trying to describe like people
just really
are dead,
unsettled.
But the author goes to describe like it sounds like they have just died and they just came across the scene.
Yeah, because I think there was even screaming in the background.
They're screaming in the background, and he says, "I gotta go," and hangs up on her.
He's so spooked at that point. Like, what are you gonna do when you come across these fucked up murders? Like, you don't even know what could possibly do something like that.
I love that, and they also allude that the police force here is really small.
Yeah,
she's like, oh, 4 guys, like half of the city's police force. So 4 guys, that's it.
Yeah,
like,
it's in a town where nothing really happens, so they're just like, oh my God, what is happening? All this murder.
It makes me wonder too, because a lot of times, people who are involved with law enforcement, police officers, detectives, are the ones who are solving these like homicide cases and missing persons cases. And I know in a lot of cases, if they can't come to a conclusion, they just rule it as a suicide. And I wonder how many encounters people have had of these creatures where they couldn't explain how they died, so they just ruled it as a suicide. And never thought about it again.
Yes, he wrung himself to death. So fucked up.
Yeah.
Assuming that is the the main way they kill people.
Right, but you can't really think of any other logical way that someone would die in this manner, so we just rule it as a mystery. But no one likes a mystery.
An animal of some sort.
Yeah,
Right,
at least
gotta
ruling
be
it
an
as a
animal.
suicide, it's like a closed case. But if it's not, you're going to have all these people wondering for all these years what the fuck was going on. People are going to start to panic. They're going to look into it themselves.
And then even if you came to the conclusion that it is indeed a Wendy's bagel, how do you defeat the Wendy's bagel?
Yeah, true.
I know people never actually talk about how to defend yourself against one or how to fight one.
There's
I'm
been like a few stories where they actually did fight back and they pretty much just like dismembered it. So like cutting it to pieces, things like that will work.
Yeah, but who is telling that story?
It was like villagers who were living, colonists who were living around that time period who like were trying to figure out what was going on in certain villages.
I don't know. I don't trust anything colonizers say. I feel like you can't battle pure evil.
As far as natives are concerned, the only way to do that is to, like you said, not give it too much attention, but also to use other methods because there's other like ways to fight these sort of like spiritual
Notice
elements.
how the indigenous people learn how to coincide with these creatures, whereas colonists just think about dismembering it.
I think the only
Just saying.
other thing I've seen that deals with a Wendy's bagel is there's a movie called Ravenous.
Yeah.
That I definitely think we should cover at some point.
Yeah,
because
we
I did
definitely
watch
should.
it after a recommendation from some YouTuber. I can't remember his
Nice.
name. But that one deals heavily with it, and it's more of like in that one it's more of like a spirit that possesses a person after they've consumed human flesh sort of idea, and then it gets into all of that. And it's a very weird movie for sure, but absolutely check it out if you want more Wendy's bagel stories.
All right.
What would you guys rate this text?
I actually would give this a 10. I couldn't find any holes to poke in it. Like the story's pretty airtight.
Same. I really enjoyed the way that he wrote. I feel like a lot of times when I read novels, authors, maybe it's just their style, but they tend to be too direct with what they're saying. And this way it was a little more illustrative, the way you read it. You have an image and a picture very vividly in your mind as you're reading it. It was short enough to be interesting the whole way through, and the plot was like consistent, and everything that happened coincided with another. There was never anything that was just randomly placed in here.
And it all worked together. Like there was these strings of the story that would kind of go off, and you're like, well, what does that have to do with anything? And then later on would come in and tell you certain things about the characters that made sense.
The biggest key to good storytelling is, as everyone has said and has probably heard this to death from their English teachers, but is showing and not telling.
Yep.
And it's such a difficult concept to master, but I think that this author has mastered that.
They got it. It's why it's good to learn how to write short stories and really master
especially in this context. There's so many things that are just shown to you. Like that they don't even need to take any time to explain whatsoever. That's why I give it a 10. Also.
Yeah. Also, I don't think there was very so I know we read it and we heard it, but if you were to make this into a film, there's not much dialogue. There's like probably less than 10 or so lines when she's talking to the sheriff, when she's talking, like she has the internal monologue. But other than that, she only talks to the kid like a few times. And the rest of it is just all the visuals that you get.
He's pretty quiet.
Yeah. And so it's like you get shit like that. So it's like it would be a nice translation, and we're actually getting a really like precise story out of it.
I think I'm going to give it a 10 as well. It's precise, like you said. And it just brings fear. I mean, even when I was talking about that cop thing, the hairs are sticking up.
I know. I have sort of an uneasy feeling too, and I'm concerned.
I'm concerned.
Let it
if
be
the
known,
lights go out,
we're going to PAX.
yeah.
let it be known, to quote McAfee, if I die, it wasn't my own doing.
I thought you were going to do the one where he's like, I hope I give you the shits.
I hope I give you the shits.
Because he eats you, starts punching out the fucking Wendy bagel. It's like, let's go.
Yo, but that McAfee conspiracy shit.
I love that.
It's wild.
I wish I could talk about it now, but that's
it's-
for a
it's
different
that's a
podcast.
different- that's a whole other
episode.
day.
It's a whole episode on its own.
Mitch, what do you rate this?
I said I gave it a 10, baby.
Okay.
This is 10.
Tens across
All right,
the
Grindhouse
board.
the board.
Approved fresh.
Yeah, this is like 4 or 5. I think it's the 4th or 5th thing that we've all given 10s to in this.
You know we're going to
literature.
be there in the theater for Antlers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Day
we are
one.
gonna
And we're gonna review it.
Yes.
And we're going to review
Yeah,
it.
we'll-
So
absolutely.
look forward to
Review
that.
that when it comes out. Do we
I
know
can't.
the release date? Did it say?
I don't think so. Well, the thing was, the big thing with this movie is it had a release date for 2020. But
Oh,
we
that's
all know
right.
how 2020 went.
Yeah,
So
we're just now
Yikes.
getting back to normal.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that he held on to it though, because
Mhm.
all of these movies coming out at streaming services, it's just so
Yeah.
lackluster
Yeah,
to
for
me.
real.
Anyways, that's just my
Yeah.
little 2
All right,
cents.
cool.
All right. I'm going to walk us out. Grab
Yeah.
your coats.
You guys got your coats? Did you get your shoes this time? Don't forget your shoes, honey.
forgot my docs. I
forgot
to get my docs.
Okay,
Okay.
take like 5 minutes to lace them up.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Damn. All right.
So we are bringing down the Grindhouse, a podcast that talks about horror and media.
What do we
Sorry,
talk about,
I
Merc?
saw a light.
What?
Well, I did. I saw a light flash across right there, and it stopped me. I'm okay. Anyways, we are.
Did you just see a reflection?
I think I saw a reflection right now.
I'm telling you, man, we're all a little spooked after this.
Yeah.
We are a podcast that
What are we a podcast?
I think
What?
we talk about horror and media, right?
we
Yeah, that's
discuss-
what we do.
Yeah, we discuss horror in media, and you could check us out on our Patreon, where you could give us $2 a month to basically help us pick out a piece of media that you want us to review.
I like how fast you're talking right now.
I'm
That's
so
how I know
fucking
you're
scared
spooked.
right now.
I think we need to go outside.
That's what
No,
happens.
actually, let's not go outside.
Oh,
It's
man.
dark
That's
out.
what happens when you sit with your back to an open doorway, you know?
Oh shit!
Bro, I have my back to the window. That's even creepier.
That's why I stood in the corner.
So,
Whatever.
Check out our Patreon, where you could give us $2 a month. Also, check out our Teespring, where you have merch up there. We have hats as well as T-shirts. Check out our social medias. We have Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams. I'm making more posts every day. It's really cool. Photoshop is cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, and give us a review on Spotify as well as the Apple Podcast. Make sure to hit the
Yeah,
subscribe
anywhere
button.
that'll let you review. Just leave
Yeah,
a,
leave
leave
us a
a,
nice
leave a review.
review.
Yeah,
I
let us,
like what
let
we're
us know your
saying.
feedback. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it. Then we'll dish it.
Yeah.
We might laugh at it. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe we'll ask you to come into the room.
Maybe you'll be a guest. Maybe we'll like your criticism so much we say, well, come on and do it better.
Right.
Dang.
Well, that's all I got.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm just saying.
I'm John. Thank you.
Whoa.